Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the HorrorKidPodcast. Before we start this podcast, I would like to say a few things about upcoming podcasts and YouTube videos. First of all, gaming videos, I'm going to change the time of those to whenever, because I'll stream whenever, as you can see, if you've been watching the streams, and I've been posting random videos if I wanted to. And about the podcasts, some of them might be a little late, like a day later, because I had some things going on that I actually have to do, and then sometimes they take a while to edit and stuff. So, that's why this one is going to be a little longer, because I'm making these 3 at different times. The first one is going to be about, well, they're all going to be about CreppyPastas. The first one we're going to be reviewing is Enough is Enough. It's a Loud House Lost episode. I'm doing it because I just love the Loud House and everything about it. If you guys want to hear that, you can keep watching this podcast, I guess. And before we start this entire thing, I'd like to make a few shout-outs. Jinro, IGN Jinro, or whatever his name is, on Twitch. He is super good. He's really good at Destiny. If you guys are into that, you guys should totally check him out. And Fighter04 on YouTube. He makes a lot of skits that are hilarious and that are actually very enjoyable. I'll have these both linked in the description on the YouTube video. Not on Spotify, though, because I don't know how to do that. So without further ado, let's get into it. Have you ever heard the story of the show called The Loud House? It's a series where a middle child, Lincoln Loud, has to survive in a family of 10 sisters. Yeah, that show. Well, what if I told you that I found an unreleased dark episode? Well, it happened to me a few days before writing this. It's a bit of a long story. I was surfacing the web, and I came across this website of salvage media known as Digital Fossils. It was a website that carried strange, lost pieces of media that were either phone calls, security footage, images, or deleted scenes of movies, and etc. I had an interest of strange, lost pieces of media, so I was curious enough to check out this website. The links were ordered as fossil, and then followed by an uppercase word or a short phrase with a few numbers. These words or phrases were sometimes nonsensical and unrelated to the website entry, and sometimes they made sense. For example, fossil dog 807, comma, fossil help 9482, comma, fossil don't look 370. Some of the entries on the website were slightly disturbing. For example, a recording of a cat playing with a dead bird, or a news report about a child going missing on an abandoned playground. I don't know how the website recovered these pieces of lost media, but it had almost everything that it could get its hands on. However, I stayed silent about it. I didn't work on the website anyway. However, as I scrolled down after seeing some entries, I found something that caught my eye. Fossil Loud 11. It was rather interesting. It had a word that reminded me of one of ones from earlier that were randomized, but it had 11 after it. It reminded me of Lincoln Loud, the same 11-year-old boy from the show I just talked about earlier. I clicked on the link and I saw this description of the entry. The description said the following: "This is a lost episode of The Loud House, which is titled as Enough is Enough. It was meant to be the final finale of the 3rd season, but scrapped after its production was done. Chris was planning another season 3 finale at the moment. However, this replacement is reasonable. This episode was lost for being too disturbing and dark for the series. If you're a fan of The Loud House, we must tell you this is no joke. Viewer discretion is advised." I was curious. I wondered why this would be for a show like The Loud House to have such an episode like this. So, after I downloaded it, I started the episode. When the episode started, the usual intro played. Nothing was wrong so far. However, at the end, nobody went to the couch, to the TV. It didn't act like they were there as well, so Lily's poo-poo wasn't present. Another thing that was wrong was that the ending logo was tainted with a color of a pastel red instead of orange. The website was not joking around. There was definitely something wrong in this episode. The title card had a black background with white fog flowing across the top left. It centered this text saying, "Enough is enough." The bottom bubbles below show who made the episode as well, which was the same as the first 2 seasons. The music was a slow, rumbling noise that was a little ambient. Something that you may hear in a horror game. Before I continue on with this story, if you do like this video, feel free to tell your friends about it, or if you want, you can actually follow me, which would be super nice. I have a Discord. Well, I'm gonna make a Discord. I also have an email if you guys would like to put ideas in for that, because I'll be accepting ideas depending on the content. Thank you. Back to the episode. The episode began with the outside view of the house, as it sometimes did. The music was absent, like the beginning of Brawl in the Family. It cut to Lincoln watching the television instead of playing video games like he usually does. He was just chilling. "Don't you just hate living with 10 sisters? Well, sometimes I do," he said. I saw his smile turn upside down, but on rare occasions, I go a little too far. I wish that they would just leave me alone, but I can't hurt them. They are my siblings. I want to love them, but the things they do are like setbacks for me. Lincoln here sounded a little more serious than normal. "Hey, bro," Luann said as she appeared next to Lincoln in the next shot. "What did the platypus say before leaving the bar?" Put it on my bill." Lincoln frowned as she laughed. "Yes, Luann, pretty fun. Do you want to smell my flower?" "I'm not falling for..." Luann's flower sprayed water on Lincoln's face before he could finish what he was saying. "Okay, Luann, that's it." "Do you want some of my banana cream pie?" Luann said before slamming on Lincoln's face. I wondered why the description said this episode was too dark. Luann was just making so many jokes that it made the episode more stupid than graphic. Lincoln facepalmed in dissatisfaction. "Stop, Luann, you're not funny. What do you call a boy who's completely white?" "A flower boy." Luann laughed for a bit, but one shot later, Lincoln slid his hand off of his face, revealing his angry eyes. "Enough is enough," Lincoln said fiercely as he grabbed Luann by the shoulders. "Wow, nice grip, bro. You shoulder work out at the gym." Luann laughed at her little joke. Then something happened. It took me back to the shot of Lincoln. It felt as if I was hit by a train. Just after Luann laughed at her little joke, Lincoln slammed her head against the wall, bruising her and knocking her out. A low ambient tune played in the background. Lincoln gasped and stared at the crack in Luann's head, and then at her purple, bruised, unconscious body. He looked at his hands in fear. What have I done? I've never done something like this before. He looked back at Luann, but this made him feel so alive. For some reason, I've never felt this good in a while. I know just what to do. It cut to black for 3 seconds, transitioning to Lori texting on her phone, possibly to Bobby. "Hey, Lori, can you drive me to the store?" Ugh. "Just do it yourself. Or get Mom to do it, Lincoln." Lori left the room, which I assumed was to go to the bathroom, and Lincoln looked at her phone, which she left inside, glaring as he planned his next wipeout. One shot later, Lori was seen walking into her room when "Lincoln, let go of my phone right now." Lori was hit in the head by her phone. As it broke with shattering of glass, Lincoln walked over to her and looked down at her. "This is for smashing my VR console, teenage brat," Lincoln said with a silent anger as it cut to Lori's lifeless body. Her phone was shattered with bits of glass scattered across her face, being cut across some places. She was bleeding across her face on where she was cut. I was shocked to see the middle child go on such a killing spree like this. Why was this made? I thought to myself. It cut to black yet again, to change to a different scene taking place in the backyard. Hey Lincoln, wanna wrestle? Sure, why not, Lynn? I'll bet I win this time. I knew this was gonna be no wrestling match, but I kept on watching to see where it would go. As Lincoln was wrestling with Lynn, he got behind her, and shortly after, cut to a close-up of Lynn's eyes. Come at me, bro! Lynn's anticipation was cut short when she not only widened her eyes, but gagged. I knew something went wrong. The dark tune grew louder. It cut away from the close-up to show Lincoln choking his 13-year-old sister from behind. Not only that, the animation quality changed to a style similar of King of the Hill. It looked so shocking that it didn't even look as cartoony as before. I watched Lynn grip her brother's hands to break free. It was useless for her to escape. It cut to Lynn's point of view, where she was turned around, face to face with Lincoln. This is when I felt like I was going to faint. Lincoln's face looked menacing, cold, and possessed. At this point, his eyes were bloodshot, his pupils were larger, and his skin was a tad bit darker. The animation at this point went back to normal style, but his face was still highly detailed. In Lincoln's pupils was the reflection of his choking sister. I watched in shock as her vision went blurry, and her eyelids opened and closed. By the time she had her eyes shut, she was done. It was over. The gloomy music stopped. The next shot went to Lincoln sitting in the dark with Lynn's body next to him. A different tune played. Lincoln looked at his sibling's body with a pleasured look on his face. After 30 seconds, he spoke. Sleep tight, Lynn. You're free. I got chills as he said these words. Lincoln had snapped, and he was no longer the man with a plan. He was now a corrupt soul. I wonder who's next for the axe, he wondered to himself as he looked up. With a planning smile, thoughts came to him. The video suddenly turned black and white. Lincoln pulled Lenny closer to him with a pair of scissors in his right hand and glared at Lola with a bat in his hands. He was seen smashing Luna's guitar on her face, and about to set Lucy on fire. It cut to black afterward. A line of white uppercase text spelling 1 week later faded in after 5 seconds. It was clear as that 1 week had passed. It was nighttime again when the next text black screen faded out. Lincoln was staring at the bodies of his now dead sisters, which were under his bed. To name a few of their fates, Lily choked on what I assume is a small toy, and Lola was cut in the face multiple times. I'm not going to get in the rest of the sisters, though. My job is all done. All I need is for one more. But who is it? He said, looking around. Yes, it must be me. There's something that I must do, Lincoln said as he looked down. As it cut to black after 10 seconds, Lincoln was now seen hanging from the ceiling, his back turned against the camera. I felt bewildered. All of the Loud siblings are dead, all because Lincoln snapped, and it all built up to this moment. Lincoln had to kill himself in order to join his sisters. Well, not all of his sisters. Just after a silent 12 seconds, Luann slowly got out of Lincoln's bed and panted heavily. It was a relief that she didn't die. Like I said way earlier, she was knocked out, but not dead. Her wounds were still present. She was a bit pale, and a bit more blood had dripped down her face, but not entirely. She looked up at Lincoln and back at her sisters, which were now lifeless corpses. This is no joke, Luann said softly, as she witnessed her first mass murder. She stood for a moment before impaling outside. for limping outside, possibly to tell her parents what happened. Afterward, the camera pans slowly to Lincoln's hanging body. Then it cut to a black room with Luann crying. Then she grabbed a needle and stabbed her eye out with the needle. Then she grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed herself in the stomach. Blood was flying everywhere. Then Luann fell to the ground. It faded to black, indicating the end of the episode. The credits had an eerie ambient tune, and the background was the same white fog from the title card, black ground, and moving left, but it lasted a little longer. As the credits stopped, the screen went to black, and an echoing high tune rang for about 12 seconds. It gave me the willies. Afterwards, the episode was finally over. Okay, guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed that creepypasta. I will have 2 more in this video, but I'm going to take a break and then record a second one, and I will tell you guys when I'm back. I really hope you guys enjoyed the first one. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the second part of this. Sorry that well, you guys didn't know this, but I took like an hour break. I had to rewrite a script because I got some of the lines wrong of the story. But without further ado, let's get into the creepypasta of the Loud House called No Such Luck, or Lynn's Limit, or, well, Lincoln's death. Well, let's start the story. In this story, Lincoln was rejected by his family because I think he has caused Lynn's team to lose the game, and is seen as a magnet for bad luck. First, Lincoln is happy he does not have to attend his sister's events. However, there comes a point where he is told to eat separately from his family. They don't let him go to the movies. They take him outside to sleep. No matter what Lincoln says or does, he cannot convince his parents to take him back. Finally, at Lynn's next game, Lincoln dresses up as the team mascot. Lynn's team ends up winning, and Lincoln takes off the suit, revealing it was him. And the family all apologizes. After this happened, critics thought it was terrible, but the creator said Lincoln got what he deserved. So that right there was the original episode that this creepypasta is based on, well, after. So here let's get into the actual creepypasta. This creepypasta is titled Lynn's Lament, or Lincoln's Death, or No Such Luck. It starts like this. The intro is the same, but the music is a little different. It's an eerie sort of feeling. Lincoln came down for breakfast. Lynn Sr. says, we see Lincoln come down with a squirrel costume on. His father smiles at him and announces that he can finally remove that costume, since they were already convinced the superstition was not real. All his sisters look at him smiling, all except Lynn. Lincoln was very happy and went running off to take it off. Sorry. Lenny noticed Lynn's reaction and asked, "What is wrong with you? Aren't you happy for Lincoln?" To which Lynn replied, "I still don't trust this very unlucky kid." Lynn reassured her, "Come on. The other day Lincoln came to my concert and went out of the bathroom and he forgot to take off the costume. And my concert was still incredible." Thus, they all try to convince Lynn he's okay. "Okay, I'll give him a chance," Lynn said. The next day, while the Loud siblings ate together, Lynn hit the table, paralyzing all the other conversations. "Shut up. I have something very important to say. My final big finale game is next week, and I need someone to help me train." They all insisted that Lincoln was the ideal person. Lincoln agreed, but I don't think it was such a great idea. Although she had no choice to accept. Then, we see the 2 siblings training. The strangest thing about this part was they both had very realistic bruises. Days passed, and the day before Lynn's final game. After a hard training session, she took off her shoes and went to rest. Lynn, seeing her brother was not giving her bad luck, apologized to him for her behavior. Lincoln replied with a smile. Then Lynn got up and went to get something to eat. and said goodbye to her brother. But Lincoln noticed Lynn left her shoes. So he went to go grab them and went to go take it to her sister. Yet on the way, he stepped on his cat's tail. The cat got so angry and started scratching Lincoln and Lynn's shoes. The shoes were completely destroyed, and the scratches left on Lincoln's face were extremely realistic. You could tell how the blood was spilling down his face. Hearing her brother's screams, Lynn comes to help him, but sees her shoes all gone. And she gets very angry with Lincoln and begins to shout at him. "Look what you've done! You keep giving me bad luck!" Lincoln tried to defend himself without any luck. Then Lynn started hitting Lincoln so hard. Cries of pain alerted Luna. She tried to separate them but failed. Minutes later, we see her in the room while her parents were scolding her. They tried to get her to reason, but in every pore of her skin, she felt that her brother deserved it. Her parents were horrified by her actions. Finally, the day of Lynn's game arrived. Her whole family was in the stands cheering for her. However, when she saw Lincoln, she remembered the event of the previous day and became angry again, but she was still concentrated on the game. For the first 15 minutes of the game, some person kicked Lynn in the leg, paralyzing it. The wounds were again hyper-realistic. The ref whistled a foul, then asked Lynn if she could still play, and she said, "I can do it." However, from that moment on, whenever she touched the ball, she missed her shot. Finally, after so much suffering, she hit one and it made a goal. But it was the other side, losing her team the game, and her whole team made fun of her, and she got mad. Everyone started booing at her. When everyone left, her family came down to comfort her, but when she saw Lincoln, her sadness vanished into expression became irresistible. Once at home, before she was about to go to sleep, she told Lincoln to talk in the courtyard. Lincoln tried to comfort his sister again. "Don't worry, there'll be other opportunities to make an effort." This made Lynn's face even more red. She frowned and said, "Damn you! You are to blame. You gave me bad luck by breaking my shoes." "But what are you saying, Lynn? Your obsession with your sneakers blinded you and made you play bad, not me." At this point, Lynn went completely mad. She stood close to Lincoln and grabbed him by the neck and lifted him, preventing him from breathing. Then she dropped him to the ground and started kicking him hard all over the body, saying, "You deserve it, you garbage. The family will thank me." Lynn kept hitting him harder and harder. He was in so much pain he couldn't even scream for help. He was crying silently. His wounds were seen with terrible detail, and his face was that of a person, and her face was that of a person consumed by hatred. Then she stopped kicking him and slowly put one foot on his head and the same with the other, but the other foot was way harder with way more force. Then she jumped. She shattered his skull completely, and his brain spread across the image. A sad song began to play, and the voice of their father was heard calling the siblings. Suddenly, he appeared in the courtyard, and when he saw the terrible scene, he was horrified and paralyzed with fear. Then he walked up to Lincoln's dead body and started crying. Hearing it, the rest of the family came out to see what was going on. Upon discovering such a horrible scene, everyone began to cry, and suddenly, Luna spotted Lynn off into the distance, staring impassively with blood-stained sneakers. Then they all looked at her without knowing what to say. Then her father recovered and started to shake Lynn and scream at her, but Lynn was not moved. The father gave her a big slap on the head and suddenly brought her back to reality. Then looked down at her blood-stained feet and whispered, "What have I begun?" She began to cry uncontrollably. Then the camera goes up and we see when we see the entire family crying out loud around Lincoln's body. Then the screen goes black. 3 months later, we find ourselves in a cemetery looking at Lincoln Loud's grave. And in front of this was Lynn, looking very unkempt and dirty, with a bouquet of white flowers. She mourned the death of her brother and cried louder and louder. Eventually, the image began to wrap until it ended. It seemed like it was over. But no. The image came back to focus on a tree in the Loud's yard, where limbs sway side to side. Then the credits appear. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that creepypasta. It was creepy. For this episode, I just decided to do Loud House because I love the show, like, so much. Like, it is one of my favorite shows of all time. If you have any other creepypasta ideas or any ideas in general, feel free to send them to my email. I have that in the description, and you can check it out on my Spotify, too. Well, that wraps it up for this podcast, video, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for listening. This Christmas for me is not a day, so I won't be posting a podcast until next Friday. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.